Welcome to Lined Musings. Today we are going to do some ink swatches. This is my new Hobonichi Techo in the A6 size, and I have decided to use the months section for ink swatches because this is Tomoe River paper, which takes fountain pen ink really well and also shows the shading and the beautiful colors. I thought it would be really great to try this out on the Tomoe River paper for this year, and then next year I'll do the same thing on the Sanzen paper just to see what the difference is like. And I've already labelled the green inks which I'll be swatching in today's video, and I have them all laid out in front of me here. So without further ado, here is our first one. This is Diamine Industries Autumn Forest, and I'll be using this glass dip pen. I won't be using the tip there, which is clearly broken, so I will just be using the end anyway, so it's not that big of a problem. But I probably am due for a repurchase of one of these guys. I've got my trusty Totoro chopstick holder here, just so the pen doesn't roll around, and also a jar with some water in it to rinse out the glass dip pen after each swatch. So I'm just going to shake up this bottle a little to get some of that shimmer at the bottom there to the top, just so that we can see those properties in the swatch. I only do the shaking of the bottles when I'm not using a fountain pen. I wouldn't recommend that because it causes bubbles, which fountain pens do not love. This is a really interesting ink. It goes on the paper an olivey green brown, but when it does dry you'll start to see some pink come out of there as well. It's really beautiful, but I will show you that later. Next up we have Forest by Diamine Industry, and this one is a green with the tiniest hint of blue, so it does look a bit like a teal, but I'm keeping it in the green section because it does lean more green. Ugh, I hate it when this happens. It just has this plastic bit stuck to the top. Let me just fix that up. I don't know why it happens, but possibly I am tightening the ink bottles too much, but also I don't want it to spill, so I don't know. Okay, let's swatch this guy. So beautiful. It's honestly my favorite of all of my inks. And it's a funny one because I thought that there would be some pink shimmer in there because that's what the sample photos on the internet were showing, but it definitely doesn't. Regardless, it is a beautiful shade of greenish blue. And now on to the range of Ferris Wheel Press inks. This one is Twinkling Tea Party, which is a part of the Down the Rabbit Hole range. I feel like the Ferris Wheel Press inks are a whole experience, from opening it up from the box to opening up the bottle lid. It's just all of the packaging, everything is so beautiful. So I really enjoy Ferris Wheel Press inks for this level of detail that they put into their products. So Twinkling Tea Party is a forest green, and it has some rose gold shimmer in it, and I love that combo. It's gorgeous. You'll see in a minute. Next up though, we have Green with Curiosity. This one is a deep emerald green with red sheen and blue shimmer. We'll just let that sit and dry for a little, and I will show you how this ink looks later when it is dry and all the shimmer and the shading comes through. I also really enjoy looking at the colour of the water change when having an ink swatch session. And now we have Peter Moss by Ferris Wheel Press. This one here is my first bottle of ink by Ferris Wheel Press. And on the packaging for this bottle, there are two cats on it. I think it's illustrations of the cats that belong to the owners. I love cats, so anything with cat illustrations is gonna win me over. Okay, so this one is a olive green and it matches the Cafeco Sport olive pen so perfectly, which was my intention with this ink to begin with. So they are the perfect pairing and I love those two together. Now moving along to my Sailor inks. This one here came with my Sailor Manu Nuts pen, and it is the Sailor Manu ink in Shirakashi. I'll just show you the pen. It's this one here, which I love so much. And I know I'm supposed to ink up that pen with this ink, but it's got Autumn Oak by Diamine in it at the moment, which I think suits the finials quite well. So this ink is, I would say it's like an olive, but it has a lot of brown in it. Yeah, I'm not sure if you can see that here, but it's borderline brown sometimes, depending on the paper that you're using. Now we have a ink from the Wearingeul range by Sailor. This one is Suki Gokoro. And I have swatched this one before, and it's so close to the Shirakashi one that I just swatched. But I am interested to see how this will come out in Tomoe River paper, because it is a Sailor ink from the Wearingeul range, so it should show some different properties. And I'm already seeing a difference there. It goes down wet as like a dark navy grey, and it will dry up and be a bit more of a brownish green, maybe with some blue properties though on the Tomoe River paper. Look at that. Look at that. I love that colour. I'm hoping it's going to stay and stick there when it dries, so that we get a bit of a brownish green and blue hue to this one. I can literally see this one changing in front of my eyes. That is amazing. I love Sailor inks. Yeah, let's wait and see how that turns out. So those were my two Sailor inks in my green range, and we are now moving on to Diamine. This one is Best Wishes from their Inkvent calendar in 2022. It's funny, when I bought that calendar, I was super new to this whole hobby and just fountain pen inks in general. And I thought, yep, I'm going to get this Inkvent calendar and it is going to have all of the colors I'll ever need and I won't need to buy any more, so it will be a cost saving. But it didn't turn out that way. I got more and more inks. But what's important is that they bring me joy and I love every single one of them. This one is a very dark green and it has a red sheen and also some green shimmer, which is very Christmassy and it definitely fit the brief. And the next few coming up will all be from the Diamine Inkvent calendar, which did come through with the goods in the green ink department. This one here is Alpine. I'm just shaking her up to get that shimmer out, and it is a lovely, beautiful silver shimmer. I love silver and green together, and this green is a dark green that's not too overly saturated either. I'd say like a grey green. I think it's that grey aspect that makes the silver really, I don't know, it just works really well together. Yeah. This is one of my favourites from the Inkvent calendar as well. So here we have Spruce, and I remember when I tried this one in December last year, it had a bit of trouble with feathering. I was really surprised by that, and I saw some comments from other people about this as well. It really shouldn't be a problem on Tomoe River paper. This is a dark Viridian green and it has some red sheen in there as well. Yeah, super lovely and very saturated. Okay, now onto a lighter shade of green. This one is Apple Teeny, and I think this color suits that name so well. Look at that contrast. It's so different to what I would usually buy, but I am so glad to have this shade of green in my collection. And here we have Olive Swirl, which is going to conveniently be underneath my Peter Moss swatch, which is my other olive shade. Though this one will be more on the yellow side, or at least on the mustardy side. Yeah, a different kind of olive. To be honest, I wasn't even sure if this one should live in the yellow section or the green section. I think it's kind of sits in the middle somewhere. Moving on to my Van Diemen's inks. This one is Eucalyptus regnans, and it is a beautiful shade of green. On the website they call it a mottled khaki green tone, which I think is very fitting. Next up we have European Honey Bee Eater Wing. Wow, that's a mouthful. And this is another one of those ones that could definitely be classified as a teal. It's got a bit of green and a bit of blue in there. Okay, so those two from the Van Diemen's range didn't have any shimmer, but this one does. This one here is Enchanted Woods. I would say this one is very similar to Spruce, except Spruce doesn't have the red sheen. Yeah, so it has that silvery shimmer that really comes through. Next up is Yoseka Stationery's Origin ink, which I bought when I got the Superior Labour collab, the leather pen roll. I'll pop the clip here. Yeah, I actually spilt this bottle within, I think it was like a day or two of getting this ink bottle, so I was super devastated, but a majority of it still is in the bottle, so it wasn't too bad, and I'm still able to show you a swatch of it today. And this one here is a Troublemaker ink that I was gifted for my birthday. It is called Kelp Tea. And this one is really special. It is a bit of an olive green, but what it has is this jewel shading. So you'll also see some pinkish purple tones come through here. It's really quite lovely. And last but not least, I have this ink here, which is by P.W. Ackerman, and I was gifted this by Ada at Bookbinders Design. And I am not even going to attempt to pronounce this, but it is number 28. What I love about this ink is the bottle. It's super unique, and it's made so that there's this reservoir for the ink that you want to use if you were, say, using a dip pen. So I'll just show you here, for example. So no doubt about it, this one is very similar to Apple Teeny, and it's that lighter shade of saturated green. And that is the last of the green inks in my collection, and I will just bring you closer so you can see the shading, the sheen, the shimmer from these swatches. Just look at Autumn Forest and Forest, look at that. I absolutely love those two. Twinkling Tea Party is really lovely as well. And Tsuki Kokoro, what a surprise. That came out so much more blue than I had expected. And you can see the shimmer come out in Alpine there, that silvery shimmer that I mentioned. It reminds me of the forest in the nighttime. And Origin, that's showing some really nice shading there as well. What I really want to do is actually compare this with some of the swatches I already have done on different paper. Just bear with me while I flip through. I'm looking for Autumn Forest. I'll just try to pop these two next to each other so you get a really good view of that comparison. There you go. Quite lovely. I think in the Tomoe River you see more of that pink shimmer come through. And Forest on the Tomoe River paper, you can see so much more of that shading. And I feel like it looks a bit more blue too. Okay, and now for this comparison of Tsuki Kokoro and Shirakashi. They both look so different to the swatches on this Travelers Company lightweight insert. I originally had read somewhere that this lightweight insert has Tomoe River paper, but I'm starting to doubt that now because it does take ink very differently. I might just flip through my ink swatch cards. These ones are by Wearingeul, and they don't really show the shading too much, not as much as in Tomoe River paper, but here, just so you can see, Forest, it looks a bit more green on the Wearingeul card, and a bit more teal in the Hobonichi, and look at Twinkling Tea Party. It's so much more saturated in the Tomoe River paper. Now I'll just show you the Shirakashi ink. So much more shading in the Hobonichi book, and the Tsuki Kokoro looks like a completely different ink. I'll just quickly show you Alpine as well. It has so much more character in Tomoe River paper. And here's another comparison of Autumn Forest. The ink swatches look so much more interesting on this paper. I'll just do a quick flip through so you can see the green swatch cards I have here and the others. What I'm looking for is Kelp Tea, because that one has some really lovely properties from this swatching session, and I just want to compare it. I don't know if you can see that. You definitely get more of that pink come through. And that's pretty much it, guys. That is my swatches of green inks in my Hobonichi Techo A6 notebook. And here's how the water ended up looking. Just a light green. That brings us to the end of the video. If you liked it, please like and subscribe. And I thank you for sticking with me all the way through to the end. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.